Welcome back to New Earth News.
And New Age networking.
Our guest today is Corbie Mitleid, certified tarot master, psychic medium, channel, and author. Corbie, welcome to the show. We are so excited to dive into the conversation
It's
with you today.
great to be here. Thank you both for asking me.
Oh,
Awesome.
pleasure.
So let's dive right in because, Corbie, I know you have an incredible story and the work that you are doing is so fascinating. So, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself? Can you share with us your journey into becoming a psychic medium and tarot master?
Oh, sure. This is what I call the 30-second elevator speech because everyone asks. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes. And instead of thinking, ooh, that's scary or ha, 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 I thought, and your point is, I knew there was magic in the world. I wanted to go find it. Fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior in high school. And yes, that tells you how old I am. That was the year that Live and Let Die came out with Jane Seymour as Solitaire the Reader. Spencer Gifts had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your David Crosby fringe jacket and your deck. Now, 5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I loved the deck. I wasn't leaving it alone. And for 20 years, I read for friends, made sure my ego was out of the way and my messages were clear. All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I could do hands on healing and talk to dead people, which is when the universe handed me my draft notice. Greetings, you're working for us. And I did it part time. Meanwhile, with a very checkered career: actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest, executive recruiter. Until 9/11. As we watched the towers burn, I turned to my husband and I said, I've got to do the psychic work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. And he said, I believe in you, go do it. Since then, it's been 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read 1,000 people a year, and I get
Oh,
to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's the biggest thing.
that's beautiful.
That is so beautiful. I get to get up in the morning. I
Right.
absolutely love that. 6 days a week, 14 hours, is that what you said?
10 to
Yeah,
14.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, how do you maintain yourself energetically doing, this type of work for so many hours every day?
Mhm.
Well, remember, it is not that I read 14 hours straight. That is when I am in my office.
Okay.
My office is in my home. I have a cat tree with two very large Maine Coons and a little ginger ninja rescue boy.
You do?
And I have been a Maine Coon mom cat for 40 years. They are
Wow.
little dogs in cat suits. Maine
Oh,
Coons are love in comedy and furry porta packs. So
I want
yes,
one
I don't
so
know what I
bad.
would do without one. But it's a matter of I work online.
Mhm.
I keep my own podcast going. It's it's as any business, I'm in the office, but I'm not constantly reading. I probably read somewhere between 5 and 8 people a week. And it depends. If I'm doing a soul plan reading, which is the big, I prep for 12 hours and then I talk to you, that week is usually a little lighter. And the next day I am a crispy critter. I do not work. That's
Yeah.
Wednesday. Wednesday is my day off.
Wow. So what can you break it down for our listeners or watchers and let them know like what types of readings you do and how they can benefit them in their lives?
Oh Lord. I am a general
Cliff notes.
practitioner. What
Mhm.
does that mean? That means that I have a lot of tools at my disposal. I am a certified tarot master.
Mhm.
I also use oracle decks, numerology, past life retrieval, which is different from regression,
Mhm.
um, spirit guides and angels, and yes, I talk to dead people. So it depends on what you need.
Yeah.
I have 2 dozen different kinds of readings and consultations, from the little short 5 minute burning question, does Bruce love me kind of thing, to romance readings, finding your North Star, creating your sentence of passion, general readings, the whole thing.
That's
So when you look through them, the most important thing is know what you want to know.
mhm.
Because people come to me for 4 things generally: everyday tour bus, past car, job, kids, finances. Okay, God, you put me here. What the hell? Past lives are things like, why am I afraid of oatmeal, or why do I love Belgium? I want to speak to my spirit guide, Binky, and how's dead Aunt Mabel. I mean, it is what it is, what it is. I am not glurpy purple with angels. Um, that's what I say about the really hallmark version of what people think psychics are.
Right.
Hi, my name is Little Raccoon, and here's my spirit guide, Arctic Bear. Let's see what your angels are saying today. Oh, can I vomit now? I'm from New York.
I
No.
love you.
With me, it's here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox to rock and roll. I will hit you upside the head with a clue brick, but you will laugh.
Right.
Because when you laugh, your shields come down and the information goes right in.
Right. Yeah. And I saw
Beautiful.
that you had spoke about your toolbox, a spiritual toolbox at one point. And I'm
Mhm.
like, the way that you tell people to like word their questions, not yes and no, but how and why, so
Mhm.
many people will benefit from knowing that. So that's incredible advice. So if you're going to go get a reading from anybody, everybody, don't say yes or no questions. Don't ask them. Ask how did you say it? Ask your how can
Ask
I do this?
empowering questions.
Mhm.
So
Mm,
that's
love that.
why I wrote this. Psychic Elbrick wrote How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys, because 20 years ago, I was doing a show in Toronto and it had 250 booths. And no matter
Wow.
how good the promoter is, they can't vet everybody. So across the aisle from me was your fake gypsy with the
Mhm.
headscarf and the jewelry and the skirt and the bad accent, and boom. So there were people walking down the aisle looking at each side, and this fake gypsy comes out, grabs a woman's arm. Now that's called hooking, and it's as bad as the other kind of hooking.
Right.
But she goes, oh, you don't need to pay 30, 40, $50. I need your palm for 10. Come, drags the woman into her booth behind a screen. 20 minutes later, we see the client leaving, crying hysterically, and a bunch of us run over and say, what happened? Well, the gypsy said, oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4? Your dog? $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small. We fix. And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles in the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good, only $1 candle. Her entire family was going to die in an accident in 2 weeks, and she bought it.
That's
Oh, how sad.
It's
that's
awful.
Yeah.
I've
terrible.
dealt with a guy that was going to a psychic for 3 years. He was in love with a woman down the street. She was married. She had a dog and a baby in a minivan. But the psychic said, oh, there are karmic knots to untie. And as soon as we do that, she will leave her husband and fall into your arms. Well, 3 years and $30,000 later, he had still never met the woman. She'd had another baby, and the psychic he was going with was gone, gone, gone. So, to be honest, I don't care if you never have a reading with me after you read that book. If
Right.
it keeps you safe anywhere, all boats rise. I did my job.
Mhm.
All right. I'm ordering it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you do your readings, Corby, how do you read people? What's your process like?
Well, when you sit down with me, like at a psychic fair, I will first say, what is the most important thing you want to get out of here knowing? Because even if you book a half an hour with me and I go as fast as I can, and I'm from New York, I'm fast. If I get from A to L in your life encyclopedia and what you wanted was down at R, you're going to go,
Yeah.
she didn't tell me anything. Wasn't important. So that's why I need to know what you want to come in for, because I also do deep dish. Let's say you said, I need some help with my career. I'd say, great. Do you want to stay where you are, change jobs, or open your own place? And that's not called cold fishing,
Yeah.
because each one of those is a multiple card spread, totally different one from the other. So let's say you guys said, yeah, we want to open up a broadcasting studio. Great. There'd be a card for Melissa, a card for Christina, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location to look for, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finance is what you need to know and best possible outcome. It is not 4 cards, wait until October and fire the second redhead. What the hell does that do for you?
Yeah, wow.
That's how a lot of card readers read, sadly.
Yeah, but now
Yeah.
3 cards can be useful, but it's drill down. For instance, if you said, um, I want to relocate, we might look at Seattle, Detroit, and Philadelphia. Once we get Philly, yeah, it's 1, 2, 3 cards. If we get Philly, then we open up to the more deep dish. What neighborhood do you want to look for? What's the job prospect? How are the kids going to get there, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes 3 cards can be useful, but it's not the be all and end all for
Yeah.
readings.
Very
Wow,
cool.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I always only pull 3 cards for myself.
Trust what you can do. A simple 4-card read when you're trying to deal with something is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. How are each of these parts of you going to work with the question that you're asking?
Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Do you teach tarot reading for clients or students, or?
Well, I don't have formal classes because there are 6,942 people doing them. I do
Yeah.
have a course called Decadance, which is how to take any non-tarot deck, and that's all your oracle decks, and read it the moment you pick it up. The nice thing is oracle decks don't have this hard and fast rule set the tarot does, so people are less scared of it. I do have a small group that I work with every month, and that's with my Patreon set up. I call them my nestlings. And it isn't just tarot that we do. Tarot, past lives, channeling, guided meditations. If they want to learn something that I don't know, I pull in some of the best teachers in the US. January, we had astrologer Pat Dumas, who I consider the best astrologer I've ever met. Next month, we're going with Heather Salome, and she's going to teach them energetic practices and how to stay safe. And in March, we have Shepherd Hoodwin, who is the channel for the Michael teachings. It's not just about, see, I'm wonderful and you have to sit at my feet. That's a
Right.
good one. I'm a mentor.
Yeah.
And I will get you all the information you need, even if it means that tonight I'm going to step aside and learn with you.
Yeah. So you outsource, which is how we should
Mhm.
all be anyways. I
Yes,
really
but
believe
only if I know these teachers. It is not
that.
just I look up somebody online and say, hey, could you? No, no, no.
Right.
I take much better care of my nestlings than that.
That's so cool. So when do you do for the listeners out there who may want to join on your Patreon, when do you go on, like how frequently
We
do
do it
you
once a
upload?
month. We
Once a
do it
month?
once a month. It's usually 90 minutes to 2 hours. And we've changed it from Wednesday to Sunday evenings because some people were having to work during the week. And it's a small group. I think we have about 13 right now. And that way everybody gets time. Everybody
Right.
gets to ask questions. The other thing that I loved is the nestlings. Since I'm moth feathers, it's the nestlings. It's become a tribe. There was one person who suddenly found that her child was on the autistic spectrum, brand new. What do I do? Somebody else there has a son who just graduated from high school. He is on the spectrum. So there was
The
mutual
family.
support. It truly is tribe. It's
Yeah.
not just you're sitting there and somebody is pontificating. You take part, and these are your brothers and sisters.
That sounds so cool. I'm probably going to have to check it out.
Yeah.
It's all on the
It's a
website.
family. It's a tribe. I love that. It's a
It
coven.
is. It really, really is. And everybody gets a chance. I am a better facilitator than a teacher because I get bored hearing the sound of my own voice. So I will set things up so that they read each other, their group discussions. It is not just sit there and listen to Corbie tell you how wonderful she is. Thank you.
It's not that bad though. I just listen to a lot of your stuff and I'm just like, next. I can't stop watching.
Thank you. I'm really flattered.
Oh, you're
So
welcome.
you work with the cards, but you also mentioned you talk to dead people. Tell us a
Yes, I
little bit
do.
about that. When did you discover that ability and how did that develop for you?
The early 90s, it just went boom, just hit. I think that I had been working so hard at clearing my own ego out of the way to read the cards that the universe said, okay, fine, we're going to push that button and that button and that button. Now, the way I do mediumship is different. I do not fish. You're never going to see me go, I see a woman in a flower dress handing you a rose. It's grandma. I get their dog tags. For instance, my father, Jerome Richard Dorkin, who died in 2001 at the age of 80. Notice that doesn't tell me anything, but gets me right into the energy. And then what happens is my guides play charades. Things like they smoked, they had surgery, there was an accident. Sometimes there'll be a phrase that they always used. And as soon as we get 3 or 4 of those, oh my God, yeah, that's Aunt Mabel, I open the door and they can talk to you directly. I remind people we're not dial-a-dead. You know, if Aunt Mabel's on a field trip, she won't be by the phone. But there's a reason why I don't do that in public at mediumship galleries, because I don't censor. Now, I have a story that I can either make the PG version or the R version. You tell me which one you want.
R. Go
R.
R. We're adults. We're here for the raw truth.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was decades ago. It was in Canastota, New York. There was a biracial same gender couple. The black partner had died and her white widow wanted to speak to her. Now you see his face? Nice kid from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I had manners. But what came out of my mouth in flawless urban ebonics was, well, shit, Amy, my white bitch. And I'm going, ew! But the woman in front of me is laughing hysterically and nodding, because that is how her partner, Isabel, walked into the house after every business trip.
I love
If
that.
my ego had been in the way, I would have tempered it. I would have ignored it. She wouldn't have had the evidence. If I had said that on stage, I would have been lynched, mugged.
Right.
So I never do mediumship except one-on-one. On the other
Wow.
hand, past life galleries, I can do. That is a real talent of mine. Now, there's a difference between regression, past life regression, which everybody's heard about, and past life retrieval, which is what I do. Regression must only be done by a certified hypnotherapist or past life regressionist, because you're the one who's going up, looking around in the Akashic. You're not trained. But if you come across a grisly death of yours or a trauma, they have ways of pulling you back so you can see it,
Yeah.
but not get involved again.
Right.
Melissa and I actually are both certified past life regressionists.
Then you understand
Yeah.
the deep importance that some yutz doesn't play inside somebody else's brain.
Yeah.
So I make that point because half of the interviews they do, they introduce me as a regressionist, and I go, time out. No, here's your difference. Why is it helpful to sometimes just get retrieval? Number one, it's fast. Number two, you can get the information without the scary part, because some people are scared of it. And the 2 stories I give on that, there was a woman who came to me and said, I'm really worried about my son. He's 29, won't live more than a mile from me, asks me about every decision he makes. This is not right. What's going on? And so I got quiet for about 30 seconds, got the information, and then said, okay, I'm seeing 1944 Utah Beach. So this is D-Day. Your son is a soldier. He's on the beach. He's bleeding out from shrapnel. You're his commanding officer. You grab him, you pull him over a dune, you take some shrapnel too, but you both get out and you both live. And I opened my eyes and she's very pale and she says, can you tell me what my rank was? I said, yeah, you were a sergeant. She goes, he's called me Sarge since he was 3 years old and we never knew where that came from.
Oh, you just gave me goosebumps.
Wow.
That was incredible. Holy shit.
Second, girl from the Midwest, corn-fed girl, had nothing to do with the Civil War. Parents went on in history, nothing. But she said that she had always been fascinated by it and why. I said, all right, I'm seeing a small whitewashed room with a low ceiling. There are 2 tall, thin gentlemen standing by an iron bed, one in military uniform, one in civilian, but their heads are bent over because they're too tall for the room. You are kneeling at the by the foot of the bed. It looks like you're in 1861, 62 clothing. It's dark gray with soutache, black soutache around the hem and the peplum and the sleeves. And in the bed, there is a little wizened old black woman who is dying, and all of you are grieving because she had been gotten out of a Mississippi plantation and she was almost at the end of the Underground Railroad and freedom, but she was going to die before she could get there. And I opened my eyes and this woman is sobbing. She says, that is the same dream I've had for 20 years. Every single bit of it. I've never known that.
Yeah, you did it again.
Wow.
Woo, girl, that's
Wow.
incredible.
That is when past lives are important. Don't come to me and say you must have been Anne Boleyn because you can't wear turtlenecks, because I will send you out the door.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be Marilyn Monroe, right? What do you
And-
believe? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please, because I
Well,
could. foam at the mouth for days.
What do you believe, like, how does that information come to you?
I see it like a movie. The reason I get it as well as I do is because, and this is important for everybody to listen to, you're not going to know how to do everything. Please don't try. Investigate it, play with it, but you'll find your specialties, because when the universe hands you your draft notice and you take it, the universe starts rifling inside to see what you got. What do I have? Theater major at Brown University, acted in New York professionally, so I understand character, voices, and story arcs. Words are my drug of choice. I'm an author, so I can tell the stories. And I have adored history since I was a wee thing in single digits. Put all that together, tarot and oracle cards, and past lives. Because you could show the exact same vision to two people. One's me with my historical background knowledge, and the other one just, she can go up there. She might say, well, it's a long skirt you're in and a big hat, and it's a really fancy carved something, so it must be Europe, maybe 18th, 19th century. I would see the exact same thing and go, huddle skirt, picture hat, that kind of ostrich feather, and you're in front of the Brandenburg Gate. So this is probably Berlin in 1911 or 12.
Wow.
On the other hand, do not ask me to do spirit art. I cannot draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer. Not my wheelhouse. The other thing, if you ask me about health, I can do a little bit, but a true professional intuitive will send you to someone who is better at what you want than they are.
Yeah.
If you have a serious health thing, I send you to my best buddy, Stacy Wells. Stacy is, I consider her the best medical intuitive in the US. I've known her for 30 years. She has seen brain tumors people have missed. She saw my cancer when the doctors missed it. She can literally
Wow.
look in the DNA of your body. So she's your health person. Me, romance, career, past lives, hit you upside the head with a clue brick. Those are all the
Humor.
things I'm good at. Yes.
Your
I will say
humor is, it's so much needed in this type of work because people are starting to take it so seriously, and it's not
I know.
all love and light, true, but it's not serious. It's, life is meant to be fun, like you just said. Play a little more. We all need to
Yeah.
play a little more.
Well, what I tell people is I take my business seriously, me not so much. I am not one of those psychics who goes, my aura don't stink, because God
Right.
knows there are a lot of those out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
How do you handle like difficult or sensitive topics that might come up during a reading? Like,
Give
you
me an
know,
example.
like if you're giving a reading for someone and they're, worried their
Like a
husband's
lot.
cheating on them or
Yeah,
something, and
I totally
Okay.
knew what you were gonna say.
yeah. How
Okay.
would you handle that?
That's a does Bruce love me question. Okay. I don't know what's going on in my marriage. So there's a card for her, a card for Bruce, a card for the relationship, what they need to know, and best possible outcome. If she still doesn't know what she should do, I'll go, okay, I'm pulling your 3 threes. 3 cards for status quo. You just hang out and deal with it. 3 cards for a come to Jesus meeting where it's like counseling, draw the line. 3 cards for hostile. Bye-bye, I'm out of here. Now, I would look at those 3 cards and leave him maybe going Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. But I have to zip it because now it's her free will. If she says, I guess I'll just stick it out, then that's her guides and her karma saying she needs more lessons. The only time I will take off the reader's turban and put on my reverend collar is if she talks about being beaten, gaslit, real serious danger. Then I will explain to her how to leave. But other than that, I have to leave it up to you. We are not your advice column.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as you think the psychic has to tell you what to do, it opens you up to $6,000 magic candle. You want to buy? No,
Yeah.
we're not going there.
Do you believe that the cards can predict the future, or are they more about providing guidance and insight into like the present circumstances or whatever's going on at the time?
They don't do a damn thing. They are ink on paper. They're doorways. But there are occasions when stuff comes out of my mouth that I have no freaking clue why I'm saying what I'm saying, but it's what they want. For instance, there's this card. This is the 3 of Pentacles. In the standard rider Waite deck, it's in a church, stained glass windows, and somebody is working on the wall.
Mhm.
Well, normally that means mastery, that means long term. But I was reading a couple in Kitchener, Ontario, and I looked at the card, and what came out of my mouth was, I'm not sure why, but I think there is a deconsecrated or abandoned church somewhere within a couple of miles, and you're supposed to open up a cafe bakery. They look at each other, they look at me and go, oh yeah, we know which one. We've been arguing for 2 years. That's their guides going, psst, yo, tell them this.
Yeah, like normally it's this what this means, but for them specifically, it means this. And I don't know what that means, but here you go.
Yeah. But it's also very important that you learn the allegory of the cards. I'm finding 3 that people are generally very scared about. And I tell especially rookies, when these cards come up, I'll tell you what they mean, because it ain't what you think.
Mhm.
And those 3 cards are death, the devil, and the tower.
I knew it. I
So,
freaking
yeah,
knew it.
of course, of course. And I'm grabbing them so that I can show them to your audience and they can figure things out. All right, let's look at the devil. This is not Mr. Horns in the Tail. It is not even Jack Nicholson in The Witches of Eastwick. It is
Ugh.
being bedeviled by something, someone, or some situation, or holding yourself back from your highest and best by bad habits.
Mm.
This does not mean you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday. This is death of an old way of life, death of what you've outgrown, death of what was never you in the first place, big change. And the tower card is not doom, gloom, and destruction. I tell people, I want you to look at it like an imploding sports stadium. Okay. Seattle Mariners want to build a new stadium. They got to blow up the old one first and clear the ground. When people hear that allegory, they are not scared and they're willing to listen to what the deeper message is.
Yeah.
It really does take skill to read the cards with your particular client in mind in front of you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So I have another little silly question. Do you use other modalities like dowsing rods? Like I love to play with dowsing rods. And I know a lot of spiritual or psychics and mediums and people who like to do readings will often use dowsing rods too. Now I'm not even kind of close to somebody who knows what they're doing, but I still play with them. Is that are those types of things?
I've played with dowsing rods a little bit. When my guides are around, I always, I'm holding them there straight in front of me. And I'm going, okay, Carl Amel, are you here? And
Yeah.
or they'll start spinning. Okay. But that's just, it's like ringing a doorbell. It's hi guys, how are you? Other things, cards are good for tab A and slot B information.
Mhm.
If someone wants to know, am I going to have kids? That's a typical one. I get their full name and then I put my hands out and I just ask their guides, is Maisie going to have kids? Yes or no? One of my hands will move. Let's say it's yes. I'll go, okay, how many? And the next hand will go and I'll hold up, you have 3 shots, pink or blue, and they'll tell me the order of, 2 blue and a pink. So if you want both kinds, you are going to have 3. The cards are good for what months are good for conception.
Mhm.
Now, there are occasions when mommy is pregnant and I can talk with a kid, but it's always very funny. There was one woman who was about 6 months along, so they knew it was a little boy. And I put my hand on her stomach with permission. And then I told him what I was getting and said, and the kid says his name is Buster. And his father looked at me like you could freeze beer. He said, you tell him that his name is going to be James Preston Pierce IV. Saw him 3 years later. There's little James. His nickname is Buster.
That's so freaking cool. I love that.
Wow, I love that.
So,
If someone
go ahead.
if someone's working with oracle cards, like in the home as part of a morning ritual, how many cards should they pull? Like, what should that practice look like for everyday use?
What they want. What I tend to do is, because I'm very energy sensitive,
Mhm.
I'll casino them out and I'll just put my hand over it and one hand out to catch the energy. And I'll tell my guides, What do I need today? And sometimes it's one card, and sometimes it's two, and sometimes it's 8. And when they're done, they put my hand back in my lap. That's one of the reasons why you really do want to work with your guides.
Hmm.
They are on your side. They can be ETs, they can be people you've known, they can be avatars. The original guides that I had to work with were a bunch of people that I flew with over 100 years ago when we were all pilots in World War One.
Oh,
And
wow.
as I moved aside, or and my energy got slightly higher vibe, can I still talk to them? Of course, they're my buddies. But I tend to work now with my own personal guardian angel more. Okay. We all have a guardian angel from birth to death. Our names are in the back of their tunics like little can tags. I belong to Melissa. But guides grow and change the way we do. You don't have the same teacher from kindergarten to PhD.
Hmm.
So that's how the guides will work with you if you're working on a particular thing. And then you move forward, you finish with that, you go to something else. Your guides may change.
Yeah.
So if somebody else tells you that you have a Native American guide named Broken Feather, and that was 6 years ago, and I don't pick up Broken Feather, it doesn't mean either one of us was wrong. It means your
Right.
guides have shifted.
Mhm.
Right. Which may
That's
be
really
a
cool.
good sign, right? Because does that mean the person has evolved
Yeah.
Yes.
in their development? Yeah.
Mhm.
You meant I had a question because you touched on like the past life stuff. And I wondered, are you able to retrieve your own past life memories as well?
I know
Yeah.
of 2 that are really sharp. Actually 3. And the one that I got first, it's what got me interested in past lives in the first place. Um, this is back in the 1980s, and I had a mad crush on a member of a Philadelphia rock band. We do not need to go into the details. I don't do that. I was not that kind of a person, but it was like I saw this person and wham. Um, and I figured it was something going on. And I was working with a woman, and we got some information. I had done rebirthing, and in that session, I saw myself, but I was short, butter blonde, round, and there was this taller gentleman. Both of our faces were hidden, but I knew who I was and that person. And I picked up that it was around 1784 in Scotland. Now, my history background at that point was Tudor England, Wars of the Roses. I knew nothing.
Right.
But working with this woman, we figured out the backstory, which was I was the local tavern girl, the local round heels. I had had a fling with the local lord, got pregnant. He found out, he sent one of his retainers, who was also in the band, to give me a patch of gold and say, get out of here. I was trying to blackmail him, so I was drowned, killed with the kids. One of the reasons
Oh, dear
I
God.
don't do kids well, which is why I came in without the mommy gene this time, never had kids,
Right.
don't mind it. So we figured out me, we figured out my name, we figured out the retainer, everything. We didn't have the name of the Lord. And we were sitting over linguine and clam sauce at a mainline seafood restaurant in Philly. And all of a sudden, in my head, I heard Marcus Baron Gordon Huntley. I'm thinking, what's this 2 titles? Well, when you want to know about the peerage in the United Kingdom, you go to a book called The Bretts. It's like 900 pages. In 1754 was born Alexander 12th Marquis of Huntley. And in 1783 or 4, he was made Baron Gordon of Huntley,
Oh my God.
Marcus Baron Gordon Huntley. And the interesting thing was 2 things. Number one, as soon as I found out who he was and found that his history paralleled what I had heard, the obsession with the rock guy was gone. And the picture of what that rock guy looked like, you put it next to a photograph of me in World War One, and it's like we're related, very
Oh
Wow.
my
close.
gosh. Wow.
Um, so that's the example of when a past life is important. When you have certain information that your guides need to get across to you. When you have a situation that is a problem that you keep working on,
Mhm.
and you'll find the past lives that deal with that. It doesn't mean that's all the past lives you've had. Nobody
Yeah.
gets, one or two, but it will pinpoint things. That's what I did with Robert Schwartz in his book series on pre-birth planning, and it's what I do when I do a soul plane reading. But that puppy does take me 12 hours of deep trance meditation before I even start
Right.
talking to my clients.
Wow.
Crispy critter, but it's
Yeah,
useful.
my husband, he was actually in here with me for a minute right after we got back from the doctor, right before we got on, and he heard that you did the soul plan sessions, and he's like, well, what does that entail? Like, how can I get one of those? So, I mean, he may or
You
may not be
can't
interested.
get one of those if you have not read one of Robert Schwartz's books, because it would be like going into a class on quantum physics and you're not even through third grade science.
Right.
Okay. Because the whole point is karma is not carrot and stick. Karma, according to Rob's work, is 5 things: healing, service, contrast, unbalanced energy, and healing of beliefs. So when I do a soul plane reading with you, you come in with a life challenge. Don't say, what's my soul plan? That's like walking into your Russian lit class and saying, I'm not going to read the book, just tell me.
Right.
So it's things like, why did I have handicapped children? Why did my fiance die 1 month after we got engaged? Why was I born in poverty? Why do I have this physical illness? Why did I come in with an addiction? That is when you've got something that you've been stumbling over for years. That is what we look at.
Okay, he doesn't need that.
No,
He's got his shit pretty together.
no.
Wow.
It's people are fascinated, but for just what a quick past life, every October, because it's October, I open up the vault and I do past life readings on my website. You can order them, but I only do it once a year because I don't want people who just think it's cool.
Yeah.
I want to do the deep, because I see it like a movie. It is detailed. I did one this past week for a woman who was embroiled in a ridiculous lawsuit with some crazy people. And the past life I got for her was literally 2 typewritten pages long, single spaced. That much detail. And she was flabbergasted after I finished, because so many things I picked up in that life absolutely paralleled her life now that she hadn't told me. That's when I know that the work was right.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. And do you feel, I know you see it like it's a movie. Do you feel the past life? Do you feel the emotion of the scene that you're seeing? Do you feel any physical sensation, or is it purely
No,
like
it's
you're seeing
literally
it?
I'm watching a movie and
Like a silent
researching
movie.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, I
That's
hear them.
cool.
I hear that. I will very often pick up sentences that I will tell the person, and it will be in proper cadence, grammar, etc., for whatever time I'm looking at. But no, it's not like, she loses a child and I'm crying. No, it's just I'm documenting this.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow.
That's
Fascinating.
cool. Wow, I want those gifts so bad.
You
Do
can
you
do it. I am telling you,
I'm
everybody
definitely
can do
joining
what
your
I do.
Patreon.
I know, that's so cool. What advice would you have for somebody who wants to like develop their own spiritual gifts or
Yeah,
abilities?
good question.
Okay,
I love that.
this right here. I did not
Okay.
know from Shinola when I first started doing this stuff. Opening to Channel by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. It's been around for decades, but it's so good. It teaches you what channeling is, how to stay safe, gives you exercises, runs you through it, and they're good and they're patient. So this is the book I recommend.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I gotta get
So,
that.
and you're genuine because you actually promote other teachers and guidance. Like, and I love that so much that you're like this person or that person. That's so like
Christina,
admirable.
there are 8 billion people in the world and I'm 69. I cannot read them all.
Right. But some people
It's
are
one of
just
the
so
reasons.
greedy. And there's so many false people in the spiritual community that are like, yeah, I'll take it all. But I love
No,
that you support others.
Yeah.
it's like one of the reasons that I'm so fortunate that I can just do this all online now is because for 18 years, I was on the road, 45 weekends a year, 45,000 miles a year on the car. My nickname was the Travel Channel.
Yeah.
And
Gosh.
Spirit kept saying, we'd like you home. No, 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 it's too much fun. We'd like you home. I love being a Hilton Diamond. You know, you walk in and they do
Right.
the we're not worthy thing. No. So July of 2019, I got a herniated disc and pinched nerve. Pain off the freaking scale, and it took me months to recover.
Mhm.
But the doctor said, we're really sorry, but your career is over. You can't drive 10 hours in the car anymore. You certainly cannot lift and load in and load out. So I scrambled and in 4 months got my business completely online. And what happened at that point? But the years of murder hornet bingo and hold my beer, COVID.
Yep.
Mm.
It
Wow.
was
And
perfect, aligned for
Divine
you.
timing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people are, we're going back to fairs. I do a couple that are local to me, but I don't do the traveling I used to. At the same time, why should other people have to reinvent the wheel? That's this book. You've got the magic who needs a genie. It is everything I learned: how to choose the fairs, how to design your booth, how to dress, how to choose a front person, all the intangibles. And in here are also things that I call Corbie Gets Candid that some people would not even think to tell you. And the story that I tell mostly is there was a show I did in London, Ontario, and I read a young man, early 20s. He did not like what I told him. The next day, I found an anonymous death threat on my table, but it was handwritten. Now, one of the things that's in here is I teach you always have a sign-in sheet, and you make
Mm,
sure that unless they are, handicapped, that they write their own stuff. I
I
was
know where
able
this is
to
going.
write. You compare the sign-in
Mm,
sheet with the handwriting. We handed over to the provincial police, and they took care of it.
right.
Guys, this is not love and light la la land,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially not the way politics are today.
Yeah.
You have to treat it like a business, and you have to learn to stay safe. And a lot of that is in there for you.
Noted. I
Yeah.
will screenshot that after we're done recording.
That's one of the things I love about like doing past life regression is we can do these sessions virtually. And so it's not like I'm having to go to somebody else's space that I don't know or have somebody
Yep.
that I don't know in my own space. It's
Mhm.
beautiful the way technology has made this type of work supportive of the practitioner, but also able to be shared with so many people all over the
Mhm.
world.
It's true. A lot of people who are local say, well, why can't I just come to your house? I only live about an hour from you. And I just look at them and say, because my house is only 864 square feet. And if you come over, I have to clean the whole damn thing.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah.
It keeps me private, but they understand.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
You know,
straight up
it's
like, I just want you in your space and I'll be in my space. We need this.
And that's typically where people are most comfortable is in their own
Mhm.
space
Mhm.
and feeling relaxed and open to the experience is key for
It
it to be
is.
successful. So I think that helps a lot.
It does. It does.
Very cool. Christy, what other questions do you have?
I'm opening this up right now because I did take a couple of notes um,
I
that
am
I wanted.
curious if you've ever, sorry, Christy. Well,
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm curious if you've ever encountered like any challenges or like any dangers while you're doing readings or connecting to the spirit realm, like having any unwanted entities pop in.
Right in the beginning, when I was first finding out about this World War I life of mine, we had connected with the spirit of Hermann Goering. And for all of you babies who don't know your World War II history, he was number 2 after Hitler.
Oh,
Um, so I was working with a woman in Colorado at that point and gotten home. I was living in Atlanta and I was sitting in my living room. All of a sudden, one of my cats went Halloween cat, ran upstairs, and I was wearing a big floppy flannel shirt, and the tail stood right up in front of me and said, now can you believe I can't get in? And I felt hands around my neck. I managed to get that down. Worked with the other person over the phone, but I was scared and I said, how do I handle this? Well, at
mm,
that point, I had a very dear friend. His name is Adam. I will not give you his last name, but he basically has a big neon sign on the astral that says, "I'm a professional. I don't care." This is
Mhm.
back in '94. He was living in the Midwest. He came to Atlanta. He got a 6-foot ceremonial sword through the metal detector. They thought it was golf clubs. Do not ask how. And we were able to bottle up that energy. So yeah, but that's one of the reasons that I absolutely tell people, you don't mess with it. Don't, oh God, Ouija boards. Ugh. Ouija boards, when you do not know how to ground center and shield, is
Mhm.
like throwing open your door in a strange neighborhood and yelling free beer. You don't know
Right.
who's out there, but they heard it and they're coming. And I have dealt with hysterical teenagers terrified because they grabbed the Ouija board, didn't know anything, just said, "Who's there?" And spelled very fast backwards was, "I have an axe and I'm here to kill you." It was not their Uncle Danny.
Oh my goodness.
And for everybody who says it's in the toy department, how dangerous could it be? Because I get that, the skeptics.
Mhm.
And if, especially if it's a lecture, I'll say, okay, who here has a kid or grandchild under 10? And hands go up. I pick one. Okay, you. What's kid's name? Josh. How old is Josh? Josh is 8. Fine. Josh comes to you and says, Grandma, I got all A's on my report card. You said we could go pick out a toy. Let's go. And he drags you into the toy department and points to a box that says, My First Chainsaw. It's in the toy department. Gonna let him play with it by himself? No.
Right.
Get a
First
clue.
thought.
Right.
I love it.
People need the big stories to just
Yeah.
slap them
Yeah.
upside the head.
Oh, I've never played around with a Ouija board. I
Mm-mm-mm.
I've always been interested in like all the metaphysical, spiritual stuff, but for some whatever reason, I just kind of felt like I don't want to play with that.
You can feel that
Um,
dark energy from it,
yeah.
the
Is it
potential.
There's
and
a reason. You've seen the big rugs now that are Ouija boards.
Mhm.
Don't get a Roomba.
Oh.
Such a
oh,
legend.
oh my gosh.
Huh.
That's freaky.
It
Is it
Right.
is. It is.
correct me if I'm wrong, if I might not be remembering this right, but is it true that nobody knows where Ouija came from? And is that true of tarot as
The
well?
board, the board is Ouija. Yes, in 2 languages. Yeah, Ouija board. That's where it's from. It's probably European, 19th century. I don't have all the background on it because I don't play with them.
Yeah.
But
Is it the same with tarot? Do we know the origins of the original tarot
hun-
deck?
some people say it's Egyptian, some people say it's Renaissance. It's, older than dirt.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons that it has so many rules, because
Hmm.
people have used them. I mean, John Dee, Elizabethan times, he had his deck. So, but the thing to remember is this is ink on paper. It is
Yeah.
the energy, the thought process that's been put into these cards for years. It is why Oracle cards are so much easier to use. One of my very favorite decks is Whispers of Lord Ganesh. Okay, and for everybody, you think everybody out there knows who Ganesh is? If not, Ganesh is the Hindu lord of obstacles. He's an elephant-headed god. Everybody in India loves him and has a little statue of him in the house. The American equivalent is if you go to South Philadelphia, the Italian American grandmother has the peeling statue of the Virgin Mary in the back by the barbecue. It's that ubiquitous.
Mhm.
Okay. And this deck is absolutely stunning.
It is.
Art
It is.
artwork is what brings me into the deck. But each deck that I pick up that is an oracle deck tells me what it wants to be used for. It's very specific. So this deck is for people who really need a lot of compassion. I have the Fairies Oracle by
Oh, I
Jessa
do
Macbeth
too.
and Brian Froud. Now, this is not your ootsy cutesy fairies. These guys march inside your head, rip up the floor tiles, and give you homework. So I only pull this deck out if somebody is a real spiritual speaker. If they look at me and go, "Oh, they're scary. I want the angels." Well, I have an angel deck too. Boom. Um, and what we were talking about earlier, which I think is important, if anybody out there is listening and they want to do this professionally,
Mhm.
even though I do not read children under 18, I have a kids deck with me
Mhm.
at shows, because very often these shows are packed, and I'm an A-lister. I am always busy. So let's say that a woman is in there, she didn't find a babysitter, a little 2-year-old muffin is on her lap, and she's going, mommy, 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 card, card, card. And she's going to look at me and say, oh, geez, Corbie, just let her pull a card, will you? And then she'll be fine. If all you have is a tarot deck, what are you going to do if it's, look, muffin, death? Kid's going to have
I
nightmares.
love
You're
how
going
all
to
the kids are
have
muffin.
muffin and
Muffin is
Pinky.
traumatized for life after that.
That's right.
I'm gonna
So I
name my
have
next kid.
something called Cat Wisdom, and it has
That's cute.
pictures of kitties. Like this says safety, and this one says stand your ground, and this one
Aw,
says
that's
don't
so much.
panic, and
How
this one says
cute.
friendship, and it has a puppy.
Aw.
So you see, the kid can pull a card, and you can tell the kid something that's going to make the kid happy, not give her nightmares, and then you go back to mommy's reading. This is the kind of suggestion that I make in the You've Got the Magic book, how to be an
Mhm.
A-lister at holistic expos, because nobody thinks about these things. But I have been doing this since Moses was in diapers. I have
Right.
so many things that I can share. Take them.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
sure
have
you've
a
seen it all.
question.
Yeah.
A little mythbuster question, because it's
Mm.
I'm fairly new into the spiritual community, only about 3 or 4 years now. But you hear often you can't go buy your own tarot deck or oracle deck. But I have only bought my own tarot and oracle decks. People
Look
say
at
that they
this
don't work; they
face.
have to be gifted to you. How accurate is
Look
that?
at this face.
It's
Does that
bullshit.
tell you?
Thank you for that face. You're telling me
No.
it's bullshit, right?
Look, the whole point is the deck's going to be your buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are hundreds of different kinds
Mm-hmm.
of tarot decks. The one that I have and have used for well over a decade now is Tarot Illuminati by Eric Dunn. Why? Because I love the richness and the lushness of the artwork.
Yeah.
Some people prefer a black and white deck or a collage deck, or it's based on dragons or whatever it is. So people can offer, buy you a deck, and that's very nice,
Yeah.
but you have to be the one that sees the deck and says, do you want to play with me? And the deck says yes.
Right. Yeah, I've only bought decks that I'm like, I have to have that deck. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have to. But I've, like, my daughter, she's 22 now. And the first time I bought my first deck, like 3.5-ish years ago, she's like, Mom, people have to gift you your decks. And I'm like, what? This one
Mm-mm.
literally asked me to buy it.
Yeah, I had
No,
It
never
was like,
heard
you
they
that.
have to
don't.
buy me.
Yeah.
No, they're also, you're supposed to keep them wrapped in silk. No,
Oh,
my
I,
guys are very happy to sit with me in a lucite holder that I got at Staples, because that way we're all ready to work.
Love
right.
that. You're all
That's
I
hanging
mean,
out.
cool.
That is so
pe-
beautiful.
people say those things because they want to up the wiki woo quotient,
Right.
but they're tools.
Mm,
They're
that
tools.
makes
It's
sense.
frustrating. It's
Yeah.
so frustrating. So, I'm sure there have been hundreds and thousands, but is there any one specific reading that still to this day, when you think about it, you're like in awe, like, holy cow, that happened?
It is the one that I use when I talk about how to deal with skeptics and trust what you get from the universe.
Mhm.
I was reading a woman, and I saw a couple of things. I saw she probably wanted to take in a boarder, and she more than likely want to sell her house. These are not crises, but it's what I saw. And she looks at me and she says, "You suck," and she gets up and walks away. Okay. Next time I'm in that town, who's the first person in my chair? She says, "Last time I said you sucked." I said, "Yes, I remember. Because you told me I was going to want to take in a boarder, and then I was going to want to sell my house, and I thought that was all bull. But
But I did
my
it.
daughter got pregnant and moved home, and now I'm going to sell my house to raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger."
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
I've told some of the amazing stuff.
Yeah.
The consecrated church and the past life stuff, but when you've been doing it this long, you're grateful that you're good, but you can't dwell on it. There are 6 words that I treasure, and I got them from my dear friend and spiritual mentor, Wendy Pini, the artist of ElfQuest. And that is praise and blame all the same. And that's important if you're going to be doing this work, because praise can make you think you'll never make a mistake. And then when someone says you suck, you'll think I should get out of the business.
Yeah.
It's like the two lines from Joni Mitchell's song, Don Juan's Reckless Daughter: puffed up and strutting when I think I win, down and shaken when I think I lose. You can't do that. You have to put your ego aside. You're doing spirit's work. You are the tool being used. It ain't you.
Yeah.
And so you completely concentrate on your client. You tell them everything that you're getting. And then when they leave, you do a core dump and you're ready for the next person.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Wow. Well, this was such an incredible conversation, Corbie. I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing about your work with us today.
Yes.
And Corbie, where can our listeners find you if they're interested in booking a reading or learning more about your work?
Melissa, they can't avoid me. They really can't. Everything is Corbie Mitleid. My website is corbiemitleid.com. You find me on Facebook, Corbie Mitleid, Psychic at Fire Through Spirit. You find me on Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, Medium, and Patreon, all Corbie Mitleid.
Beautiful.
You can't miss it, folks.
Yep. And we will make sure to link all of your channels and socials in our show notes as well. Once again, thank you so much, Corbie. It has been an absolute pleasure having you with us today.
Thank
I
you.
had
Thank you.
fun. Thank you.
You're a blast.
And thank you guys for tuning in to New Earth News, a show where we talk all things 5D and the New Earth every Friday on YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And New Earth News is also available as a podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And of course, if you are so inclined, give your girls a 5-star rating. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time,
Continue to choose the matrix of love and align yourself to the frequency of the new earth.